Is the new UFC middleweight champion Khamzat Chimaev also a political prisoner, a hostage to a criminal warlord? Khamzat Chimaev's ties to Chechen dictator and notorious Russian warlord Ramzan Kadyrov has raised a lot of questions about just how much control Khamzat Chimaev really has over his own career. With these ties being the rumored reasons as to why Khamzat Chimaev could not fight in the United States for several years, along with potential family implications for Khamzat Chimaev with Ramzan Kadyrov, this isn't just about the fight game. This is actually more about politics, power, and potentially even survival in Khamzat Chimaev's case. So stick around to hear the full story. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Now, Khamzat Chimaev rose through the UFC ranks very quickly, getting 4 wins in about 60 days, and then eventually becoming very inactive in the sport. He eventually got this cleaned up and became UFC Middleweight Champion when he beat Dricus du Plessis at UFC 319 in a controversial and boring but very dominant performance at UFC 319. One of the biggest, most hyped prospects, if not the most hyped prospect in UFC history, fulfilled his potential, fulfilled the hype train, and became a UFC champion against a very good champion in Dricus du Plessis, who had beaten Rob Whittaker, Sean Strickland twice, and Israel Adesanya. This is a good win for Khamzat Chimaev, and he is a big star. He actually got the cheers in Chicago for UFC 319, whereas Dricus du Plessis got booed. Being that Khamzat is from Chechnya, a war-torn region, there are many pictures out there of Khamzat Chimaev with Chechen dictator, warlord, some people would say leader, but despicable war criminal. Many pictures of Khamzat Chimaev with Ramzan Kadyrov throughout his career. And there's been many instances of Kadyrov basically being involved in Khamzat's career by keeping him out of the cage. And also right here, it says, Ramzan called me to tell me that he was ready to pay Diaz $2 million for the fight. I told Nate that they called and offered more money, but he refused anyway. This was back at UFC 279 when Khamzat missed weight by almost 10 pounds. And Nick Diaz ended up fighting Tony Ferguson. He's also been pictured alongside Magomed Ankalaev. And there's many questions about their relationship. Now, Ramzan Kadyrov is somebody who is definitely a dictator in Chechnya. He has been accused of torture, human rights violations, killing people with special needs, anti-gay purges, like purging the gay people that they can find. He's been sanctioned by the United States and by the European Union. He constantly uses his relationships to big-time MMA fighters to boost his image, to make himself look like he's not a war criminal and all of that. And Khamzat Chimaev even dedicated the fight against Dricus du Plessis, dedicated the belt to Ramzan Kadyrov's son. Here we have Khamzat Chimaev returning to Chechnya after winning the belt at UFC 319, and he immediately gives the belt to Ramzan Kadyrov. And as you can see, he gives Ramzan Kadyrov the belt. And Khamzat looks a little bit stressed. He looks disappointed. We'll see. And obviously you have the customary music being played, but many people right here are saying that Khamzat is being held hostage and that he's not happy. This right here from Golden Combat says, that's the facial expression of a man who's realizing he did all the hard work and the local warlord is hogging his glory. Now, obviously he is wearing a Khamzat shirt, so he's showing support, but Khamzat looks disappointed and Ramzan Kadyrov looks like he's holding the belt like it's his own. Now, many people do say that Khamzat was close to retiring, ready to leave the sport due to his health, and Ramzan Kadyrov came in and basically said, I'll sponsor you. You're going to become champion. I'll sponsor your health, your training, all of that. And that's what he's done. Even Khamzat himself says that he offered Nate Diaz $2 million to take the fight after he missed weight. And even here, you have him talking about Benzes and all these different things that Ramzan Kadyrov has given to Khamzat Chimaev on the Full Send podcast.
the Chechen leader, Ramzan.
Ramzan, yeah.
He surprised you with a Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, actually, I gave him 3 times.
3 Benzes?
Three Benzes?
Yeah.
Did he talk to you when you were trying to retire too?
Yeah, he did.
He just bought you another Benz and said, "If I'll buy you a Benz, you can retire."
Yeah, when I see the best become a healthy man.
Now, Full Send is getting their own load of shit. This is a long time ago. They're saying Chechen leader instead of Chechnyan war criminal or dictator. And, you know, they just did the Netanyahu podcast as well that got a lot of heat. Many people are saying that these Chechen fighters don't have a choice because Ramzan Kadyrov would kill them or their families if they basically didn't suck up to him. This here is Ramzan Kadyrov at Khamzat Chimaev's wedding. And the rumor, you know, there's not a whole lot of information from this part of the world, especially when you have a warlord. You don't know what's propaganda and what's not. But Ramzan Kadyrov officiated Khamzat Chimaev's wedding. And this is where it starts to blur the lines as, is Khamzat really held hostage? Are they friends? Has Ramzan Kadyrov just claimed a stake in Khamzat's life for the sake of political power, global relevance? He's getting talked about on podcasts, things like that. Basically propaganda that makes him look better than the warlord that he is. And there's also the possibility that he just swooped in and offered to pay for everything for Khamzat in exchange for them being friends. There's so many possible sides to this. But it absolutely does look like, in my opinion, that Khamzat Chimaev has whored out in some way to the local warlord, Ramzan Kadyrov, and he basically doesn't have a choice in what happens to his belt, what happens to his citizenship, and all of that. While Khamzat might be like a willing ally, he might also basically be a man with no choice, where he just is going along with this. The question here is not as much about whether or not Khamzat supports Kadyrov. It's more about, did he even really have a choice if he wanted to or not? Now, Khamzat Chimaev is a UFC champ, but he very well could be a political pawn to Ramzan Kadyrov, because in the cage, so far, he's unstoppable. But outside of it, it looks like he might be a victim. He might be a hostage, political hostage. So let me know your thoughts down below. Is Khamzat a willing ally of Ramzan Kadyrov, or is this forced? Is he essentially a political hostage? Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.